Greetings and salutations, and welcome back to our Europa Universalis beginner walkthrough / tutorial with RedBstrd as Delhi, where we are going through the game, trying to explain our decisions as explicitly as possible, why we're doing certain things, and why the mechanics work out for us. Where we last left our country, we had invaded Kashmir and annexed them. And we're checking to see what our next opportunity is. So we're trying to fabricate a claim so that we could attack Kangra. We're butting up to our two allies, but I think we do want to open up as many opportunities for expansion as possible. So let's view Dundar down here. He's only got 6,000 troops as a potential target. We're going to build a spy network in their country as well. And we have cause to go to war with Multan. But we can't face down the Timurids right now, who have threatened to intervene in that war if it happens, or if we invade any of their neighbors, by joining the other side. And now we have an event here. Men of Science. Word has trickled to us that there's new discoveries being made in Western Europe, and some of our advisors have suggested that we use some gold to bring men of science here to our country. So what are our options? We could lose piety by bringing men of science to our nation, which would, if we're low on piety already, would make technology less expensive for us. Or we could refuse and listen to our religious institution who don't want a bunch of infidels walking around in our country wielding influence. So we're going to commit to the direction we are going. So we're going to reject that idea and gain some more piety. So now we're getting even more morale, more missionary strength. And we don't care about the missionary strength. We're perfectly happy with the number of religious minorities we have in the country. But what we really want out of that, I should be explicit, is we want the morale. We want our troops to fight as hard as they possibly can. Now Timurids are asking for the right to move their troops through our territory. We're going to decline. They're warning us not to go to war with our neighbors and then asking something of us? No. Not the way this works, Timurids. Not the way it works at all. So each month, our diplomats are working as spies, build up some spy power, spy network, in each of these two countries we've targeted. And once we're at 20, we can fabricate some documents. They're giving us some claim that we can put forth as to why this province should belong to us. So we click on the country and we spend that spy power to fabricate a claim. And it asks us which province, and we say Kangra, and we will have a claim on that for 25 years. It reduces our spy power down. That guy's done his job, so we're going to recall him. And let's move some troops right over the border with them and put our general in charge of the army we wish to use. And I would suggest always waiting, when you can, to declare war on another country on the 1st of the month. The reason why is that they might not be paying their troops the full wages while they're at war. It's going to take them a little bit of time to organize their troops. We'll give you an example. Okay, so we're declaring war. We have a reason, conquest. We've claimed that this is ours. And since we're declaring war on a Hindu nation, then we'll gain some more piety. They have no allies. We're not going to be able to get assistance from our allies. And we just move our army in. So, watch this green bar, which is the morale of the army. How organized and dedicated they are to the fight. See, it drops. That's because in times of peace, they weren't paying full wages to their troops. They didn't expect war. And when the war started, we can go to our main country view and go to our economy tab and see that we've got the slider we could use to start paying our troops less to save some money. But it tells us with maximum maintenance, there's no penalty to morale. Obviously, if you don't pay the maximum, your troops have a penalty to morale. And it takes some time to get that back. And it happens at the 1st of every month. So we declared war on them, and now that they're paying their troops, they start paying their troops right after that. And they have to wait till the next month to get fully organized. So their troops aren't going to fight as hard. When we hit them, we can see how that's working. Their morale is low compared to ours. And we just crushed them. We lost 360 men, they lost 4,000. And again, we need 3,000 men to try capturing the city. So we're going to leave 4,000 just in case. Move all of our cavalry. Horses aren't great for sieges. Pull all the excess guys out of there. So we don't want anyone dying unnecessarily of disease and lack of supplies. And now that we have cored this province, we have some points to core it. We now could extend some state-level administration over it. We're only allowed a certain number of states where we can do this, and that number can be found through our main country view. Go all the way down to your stability and expansion tab. It tells you how many states you're able to have. We have 3 out of 15. So this could be our 4th, Kashmir. And if we make them a state, you'll see that when we're looking at this province, it gives us all sorts of information. It tells us what the terrain is. It tells us their taxes, their production, their manpower. It tells us the culture, who has cores here, what the religion is, what goods it produces for market, whether there's a fort, all sorts of stuff. One of the attributes is how likely they are to revolt, and autonomy. Autonomy is how much of the economic value of the province is used by locals rather than going to our capital. And here we can see 75% is. Hey, that's the minimum if it's not in a state. If it's just a territory, and you haven't put through the effort to make it a state, the minimum autonomy is 75%. So you're losing at minimum 3/4 of the value of that province. But if we make it a state, we're going to have to use a little bit of our money to run the state administration, but this autonomy is going to not have that minimum. Minimum will become 50 instantly. We get more value out of it. And then we have the option of making the territorial core that we built into a full core. Spend a little bit more administrative points. And this is optional, you don't have to do it. But if you do, if you invest further into it to make it from a territorial core into a full core, that autonomy becomes minimum of 0. Might not be 0 because you recently conquered it, but eventually it can get down that low. Okay, so now we're getting more money out of Kashmir, we're getting more manpower, we're getting more trade goods. It's more valuable to us. And now we're just waiting for the siege. Again, we've seen what the siege looks like. It's rolling dice and hoping for high rolls that give us increasing bonuses to forcing the city to surrender. Nothing new there. Now forts do some things other than just resisting conquest, and we'll take a look at that when we get into one of those situations. But there's a lot going on with this game, so we're going to take things one step at a time. So we've got 2 diplomats that aren't doing anything. I want to send one of them to buddy up to our ally, Balochistan. So he's improving relations, and every month he'll make those relations a little better. And we're just accumulating each month more and more admin power, diplomatic power, military power. Our truce with Malwa has expired. Now we could declare war on each other if we have reason to do so without breaking that peace treaty. And you'll notice that we have a new alert after we conquered Kashmir that warns us that in a province there's unrest. Every month there's a chance that a rebel group is going to organize. So there's an 8.1% chance every month that they will get 10% more organized. So go up to 10, and then if it happens again, they'll get to 20. And if it reaches 100%, there will be an uprising in that province. We can find out more information about that. You can click on the province and see what kind of rebels they are. And if we hold the cursor over that button, it will tell us what their demand is. They feel that their rulers should be of Kashmiri culture, and since we're not, they demand independence for Kashmir. That's their goal. We don't want them to do that. We can also click on this, and it will take us to our main country view, over to the stability tab, and give us information on possible rebels we could possibly have in the future. Kashmiri separatists. And there would be 8,000 of them. If we get more Kashmiri provinces, somebody else says Kashmiri culture, like these guys, then we might end up seeing a larger revolt. And what's causing that? Why do we have unrest? Well, if we hold the cursor over the unrest, it will tell us. Most of it is coming from what they call separatism. When you conquer a new province that is not your core, like this one was our core, we had a right to it, and a solid right to this because it's a core. This is not. We just took it. We just took it because we could. And that gave us separatism in the province. And every few months, it's going to degrade by just a little bit. It tells us it decays by 0.5 every year, and by the year 1476, there will be no separatism. But right now, there's a little bit of an independence movement, and any province that we conquer in the world that we don't have a core on, when we go to war is going to have separatism when we conquer it. Well, there might be exceptions to that. Actually, I can think of a few, but generally speaking. So we have to deal with that in certain ways. Now, what we could do is you can see certain things that are counterbalancing that unrest. Friendly troops. If we station troops in that province, we could reduce the unrest. Tolerance. So if we are more tolerant towards a religion, we could reduce the unrest. If our stability gets higher, we would reduce the unrest. Or we could give more control of running of that province to locals. So we could increase the autonomy by 25. And then for the next 30 years, they would be less likely to revolt. The unrest would be 10 points would be subtracted for the next 30 years. But, you know, there's a trade-off. Again, autonomy feeds into a loss of taxes, production, and manpower. So we wouldn't get as many men from our army if we do that. We wouldn't get as many taxes, and so on. So we're not going to do that. We need the value of provinces that we're conquering. We're not just conquering them for pride's sake. Okay, so we have discovered that as we are fabricating claims on other people, our neighbor, Jampur, is doing the same thing to us. And we have arrested some of the agents who were trying to do it. So we've caught them doing it. Speaking of spy network, we have over 20, so we could actually fabricate a claim on Dundar, where the spy network is. We go down to our covert actions, and we can fabricate a claim. We're only allowed to claim things that are bordering us, or sharing a sea zone with us. So if we were, for instance, if we conquered Kutch, we could fabricate a claim on North Konkan, because it's sharing the same sea zone. Regardless, in our circumstance, the only province in Dundar that borders us is this one, Shektwati. And it takes 10 of our spy network to get that claim. So he's done his job. There's no other province that we can claim, so let's get that diplomat working on something else. Speaking of spies, a close member of the family of our ruler has proven utterly naive and keeps telling foreigners vital information publicly. This is technically treason, but executing a member of the royal family might cause unrest. So we can execute him and lose some of our prestige, make people respect us less, or we can just sort of shrug and say he is a relative after all and spare him the axe. We probably execute people by having elephants trample them in these public cases, because that's awesome. Oh, what do we want to do? Well, it's hard for us to get prestige, and we're already low on it, so I don't want to lose any more. What happens if we have low prestige? Well, our traders produce less trade power, so we make less money from trade. Our troops have a morale penalty, so they fight less effectively. They fight less hard. We lose legitimacy every year. It's harder for us to improve our relations with other countries, and people get upset more when we try to expand through conquest. That's all bad stuff. We don't want to make it worse. Now, we can let people spy on us more easily. That's not good, but they're going to do it anyway. And if they spy on us, they still have to, when they forge documents, that's what they're trying to accomplish with spying. They still have to try to take them through a take them from us through war. So let them come. And now we've got 2 lazy diplomats, so let's enter a new royal marriage with our subject. When our royal family was overthrown and replaced, it ended some of our royal marriages that we had before. So again, why are we doing this? Well, it improves the relationship 25 with us immediately, with Bangladesh, and it helps us get better relations with them when we have a diplomat working on that. It makes us more likely to produce an heir if we need one. We've currently got one. Said Peter Lodi. But if he dies, we want a replacement. And it gives us a little bit of legitimacy every year. So let's do that. And we still have another diplomat who's not doing anything. So let's buddy up to our friends Bengal again. Let's dedicate this diplomat to improving relations with Bengal. And we can see this improve relations +5. He's already improved the opinion of Bengal's opinion of our country by 5 points. He could do another 95 if we leave him on the job long enough. Okay, so let's carry on. Bangladesh, of course, accepted the offer. And we have captured Kangra's fort from them. And now every month you'll see that some of our men are taking over this fort and garrisoning it. So any enemies would have to capture the fort and force our garrison to surrender. And now we have 100% war score because we have crushed their armies. We completely occupy their territory. We have a complete victory. So we can open up a peace deal with them. And what do we want? Well, we declared the war for this province. So let's take it. And it upsets people a little bit. Keep an eye on this number whenever you're going to sign a peace deal. It will let you know if somebody is likely to join into a defensive military coalition against you. And we'll talk about coalitions a little bit more later. But for now, I'm just warning you to always check this before you sign a peace deal, because it will list nations that will get really upset over it. And it's going to give us 5 overextension, which we'll look at more closely. We can also empty out their treasury. So take 95 of their ducats. And we get a little bit of prestige. Since we have only taken what we said we were going to take, this will cost us no diplomatic power. And it conveniently tells us to extend a core, establish a core here. It's going to cost us 22 administrative power. Great. Sounds good to me. And we get an overview of the peace deal and the war. No surprises. So now we need to build a core here. It tells us how much it's going to cost and how long it will take to do so. And why do we build a core? Well, first of all, we can't make it a state unless we court. And if we have provinces that we don't have cored, you can find this information by either clicking directly on our new alert, or you can go to our main country view and go to our stability and expansion tab. If we have provinces where we don't have a core, then we have what's called overextension. That we have territory that we don't have government administration in, and that causes some chaos in our country. If this number ever gets over 100, you're going to have problems. You can do it, but I would suggest not going over 100% overextension if you're learning how to play the game. Your target number should be, 100 or less. Because for every bit of overextension you have, you get a little bit of unrest, meaning that there's a chance a higher chance that rebels will rise up in your country. Stability becomes more expensive. Costs you more administrative power to make your country stable. Mercenaries cost more. You got lowered trade. Your diplomatic reputation, your ability to persuade other nations is hurt. And other nations get over your aggressiveness a little bit more slowly. And finally, you get a little bit of corruption. That more of your country's efforts are being sucked up by selfish individuals, institutions, estates, however you want to think of it. We definitely want to core this, so we can do it right here by just clicking, or we could do it right here. It's the same thing. It says, do you want to do that? Because it's going to cost 22 of your administrative power, and the process will take 60 months. We will say, yes, of course we want to do that. And sorry if I'm moving very slowly through this on certain things. I just need to stress the importance, and the whole point of this game is just to explain the concepts, explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. So hopefully you find that useful. And again, we have unrest here, and we can see the biggest chunk of that is coming from separatism. And we can expect that separatism adds plus 15 to the unrest to any provinces that we recently conquer. And again, we can give out more control of the province to locals if we don't want to deal with the unrest. But we've got a big army. We can put them down by force if rebels rise up. And the cats have converged in the den where I'm recording this, so hopefully they won't meow at me. And of course, she does in response. Guess I shouldn't have called her out. Okay, so we have an alert now that we have enough money from our conquest that we could start building some buildings. And we could do so just by clicking here. And it will list all the buildings possible. And these ones are blued out because we don't have a coast. We have no possible provinces that we could build shipyards and docks in. We're landlocked. And these are redded out because we don't know how to build them yet. We don't have the technology. We don't have the know-how to produce these buildings. So the only one that's possible is we could build a castle. So what a castle does is it's a fort. And it shows us in blue the provinces where we have one built already. And green are the ones where we can build one. We can actually even build a castle in our subject's land. So I'm going to add one to our capital. Because we can see here, this fort has 2,000 men defending our capital. Oh, sorry, our province. Our capital over here, Delhi, which we can see on the map, has a little golden crown on a flagpole, or if we zoom out, the fort shows a little crown. That's our capital. And it's only got 1,000 men, and every capital will have at least 1,000 men defending it. But if you build a real fort, it just adds those two together. It's like 2,000 men from a real fort, 1,000 men from a capital, and here's one province that has them both. So it's a lot of money. But we want our capital to be safe. And why would we do this? Well, again, the abstract is we want our capital to be safe. It would really hurt us if somebody captures our capital. And we've seen, when we've gone to siege with other nations, captured their provinces and moved troops in to siege down their territories, that we need a certain number of troops there, minimum, to capture that fort. And the larger our fortifications are, the more troops are necessary to do that. And the longer that fort will hold out. So we're almost 30 minutes in, so I'm going to stop this video and I'll start recording another one because I got some free time to do so. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.